This video is on solving systems using the substitution method, and this is video part 2. So there is a part 1 with about 5 other examples that you can also watch. So if we take a look at this system here, again, remember, our goal is to figure out what does x have to be and what does y have to be to equal this number, and the same two numbers have to plug back in and equal -3. So if we revisit the steps we talked about in part 1, the first step is we have to isolate one of the variables. Now it is easiest to isolate, like we can get this x by itself, or this y by itself, or this y, or this x. We have to get one of the variables by itself. It is much easier to pick the one that has a 1 in front, so no coefficient in front of the x. That's the best choice. If none of them do, like let's say this was a 3, I wouldn't use the substitution method. There will be another method that we'll learn in class next time. So what we have to do here is we have to do step 1. So for step 1, we need to, I picked this one here, so I'm going to circle it. I need to get this by itself. So to do that, I'm going to need to add 2y. Now the x is by itself. So now that the x is by itself, I am going to plug this in for x right there. So step 2 is to take the other equation and take the x out and plug this right on in for x. Since there's a number, a coefficient in front of the x, there's a number in front of the x, I am going to need to plug it in with parentheses, and then I'm going to plug in the 2y minus 3. And then -4y or minus 4y equals 9. And then that's it. That's all that's new for today, is that you're going to have to get one of the variables by itself. The rest of the steps is what we did yesterday. So we are going to solve this now. So step 3, we're going to solve what we have left there. So we're going to distribute here. So 5 times 2 is 10y. 5 times -3 is -15. Bring down the -4y. And then we're going to combine the like terms. And then keep going. And we will get y equals 4. So that means this y is 4, and this y is 4. And we need to figure out, what does x have to be? So the very final step, step 4, is to go back and pick one of these equations. It does not matter which one. So I'm going to go ahead and go with the second equation. Again, I could pick the first one if I'd like. So I'm going to pick the second equation, which was x minus 2y equals -3. And I'm going to plug in the number that we just found, which is the 4. And now I can get what x is. So -2 times 4 is -8. And add 8. And we now know that x is 5. So x is 5 here. Okay, and if we check this answer here with a calculator real quick here, we have 5 times 5, and then minus 4 times 4 equals 9. So it works. Now we have to check the next one. So 5 minus 2 times 4, it equals. It worked. So that's the nice thing about solving systems, is we can always check our answer. All right, let's take a look at another one. All right, first step is we want to isolate. I don't want to pick this one. It has a 2 as the coefficient, the number in front of x. I don't want to pick this one. It has a 5. And I don't want to pick this one. It has a negative 2. None of them have a positive 1 like this one did. It just had a 1. But this one is the second best choice. It has a negative 1 in front. That's the second best choice. So a positive 1 is the best choice, and a negative 1 in front of the variable is the second best choice. So step 1 is, and I'm going to circle, this is what I'm going to get by itself. So we're going to subtract 2x. And then the very last step, to get the y by itself, this is why the negative y is the second best choice. We need to divide everything by negative 1. Now the y is isolated. So step 2 is we're going to take this and put it right there. So step 2, I'm going to take this equation and plug in the 2x minus 3 for the y right there. So we're going to plug that in there. So we have 5x minus 2 times, so we need to put parentheses around the 2x minus 3, and then equals 10. So all we did here was take the y out because the y is equal to that. And now we're going to distribute. Negative 2 times 2 is negative 4x. Negative 2 times negative 3 is positive 6. Bring down the 5x. And we're going to combine the like terms. 5x minus 4x is x. And we get that x equals 4. So that means this is 4. And this is 4. We need to figure out what y is. So that brings us to the final step, which is step 4. And that means we need to go back, pick one of these equations. I'm going to go with the second one this time. You can pick the top one if you want. And we just got what x is. So I'm going to plug it back in. So 5 times 4 is 20. Solve for y now. And we get that y equals 5. So that means this is 5 and this is 5. So our answer is x is 4 and y is 5. So let's go ahead and check that. So with our calculators, 2 times x, which is 4, minus 5 equals 3. It worked. Then let's check the other one. It has to work for both. 5 times 4 minus 2 times 5 is 10. So we got the same thing on both sides. We know our answer is correct. Alrighty, So let's go through these steps again. Step 1 is to isolate. So we need to get one of the variables by itself. I would not pick this one because it has a -2 in front. I wouldn't pick this x because it has a -4 in front. And I wouldn't pick this y because it has a +2. The best one would be this one. So I'm going to take that equation. This is step 1. And I'm going to isolate by adding 2x. So now I'm ready for step 2. I'm going to take that, 2x plus 3, and plug it into this equation. So I'm going to take this and put it right in for y, because it says y equals. So it's going in for y, not x. So we have -4x plus 2, and then we need parentheses because there's a number next to the variable y. Okay, then we're going to distribute. 2 times 2 is 4x. 2 times 3 is 6. And this is a positive 4x. And then we're going to bring down the -4x. And then we're going to combine like terms. And these two make 0. They're gone. There's no x in this problem. And then we bring down, there's a 6 here and a 6 here. This is true. So when the variables go away and there's no variable left, and it comes out true, this represents infinitely many solutions. That means there is not one value for x and y. There are going to be many numbers that can replace the x and the y here and here. Okay, let's do one final example here. So step 1 is to isolate. I wouldn't pick this x because it has a -3 coefficient. I wouldn't pick this y because it has a -2. I would either pick this one or this one. It does not matter. I'm going to go with the x this time. So I want to make that by itself. So step 1 is to get that x by itself. So again, I could have picked this one. That would have worked out just fine as well. Alrighty. Step 2. Substitute what we just isolated here. So we're going to take this and plug it into the other equation here. So -3x plus y equals -1. So I'm going to take not the y, it's not going to go in for y, but it's going to go in for the x. It's going to go in right there. And there is a number in front, so we need to put parentheses. Okay, so step 3 is solve that. So we're going to distribute. -3 times 2 is -6y. -3 times 4 is -12. And combine the like terms. So -6y and +1 make -5y. Add 12. Divide by -5. And we get y equals a positive divided by a negative is a -11/5. Or -11 divided by 5 is -2.2. Okay, so right now we don't know what x is, but we know that y is -11/5, which is the same thing as -2.2. So we can leave our answer as a decimal or a fraction. Then the final step, step 4, is to go back, pick one of these. It does not matter which one. I'm going to go with the top equation. And we're going to plug in what we just got here right there for y. And again, if you prefer working with decimals, then I would put a decimal there instead. Okay, so to get rid of the negative 11/5, I have to add 11/5. So on the calculator here, we're going to do negative, so there's the negative key, negative 1 plus, and then the fraction key is right here on this calculator, and it's 11/5 is 6/5. Then we're going to divide by -3. So we're going to do 6/5. We're going to take that answer and divide that by -3. So we get that x equals -2/5. Which, as a decimal, if we want to change it to a decimal, on this calculator there's these double arrows there. If I click that, it's going to change it now to a decimal instead. So here's our answers.